Haley was labeled a killer before anyone asked the right questions. Her little boy died in a locked car, and her husband told everyone she forgot him. Fast, loud, and on camera. Then a tech detail surfaced that didn't match his story. If you've been blamed for something you didn't do, share what happened in the comments. Haley pulled into the daycare lot just before noon, still wearing her ER badge because she'd come straight from a night shift. She reached back to unbuckle her son and stopped. His head was tilted, his skin the wrong color. She said his name. Then she shouted it. Her thumb hit 911. Her other hand went to the rear door handle. It didn't move. She tried the front door. Locked. The key fob was in her jacket pocket. She could feel it. She pressed unlock. Nothing. She pressed it again, harder, like the car owed her an apology. 911, what's your emergency? My kid isn't responding. I can't open the doors. I'm at Sun Valley Daycare on North 32nd. She threw her shoulder against the rear window and bounced back. The dash lock light blinked as if someone had just tapped it. She stared for one beat, then yanked the handle again until her fingers cramped. The daycare door opened behind her. Footsteps hit pavement. Ethan's voice carried across the lot, too controlled. What did you do? He said. Then he raised it for the parents near the entrance. Oh my God, Haley, did you leave him in the car? Haley turned, waiting for him to take over, to grab the fob, to smash a window if he had to. He didn't. He looked around first, like he was taking attendance. His hand brushed his phone. A woman a few spaces away already had hers up, filming. Help me, Haley said. Ethan patted his pockets and nodded at the car like it was the problem child. It auto-locks, he muttered. You know that, she said. He said it again, louder, as if explaining a feature to strangers. The car auto-locks, a voice whispered. How could you? A dad tried the driver's handle and shook his head. The daycare director shouted for tools. Ethan stepped toward the woman filming and put a hand to his mouth, eyes wide. She's been so tired, he said, and he didn't bother lowering his voice. She forgets things. Haley felt the lot turn on her. People backed away, not from the car, from her. An EMT unit pulled up. 2 medics jogged over with a glass breaker. One glanced at Haley's badge and asked, Do you remember locking the car? Haley answered the way she answered families at triage, fast, flat. If I remembered, I wouldn't be standing here. The medic blinked, then moved. Glass popped. Hands reached in. Haley tried to follow, but a police officer caught her elbow. Ma'am, we're going to talk over here, he said. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., you'll come down and give a statement. As he guided her toward a cruiser, her phone started vibrating. Notifications, tags, a video uploading in real time. Ethan had once bragged their garage camera records everything. Like the world needed proof of their life. Now he stood by the shattered window, slipped his phone into his pocket, and looked at Haley like he'd already told his version. Haley followed the gurney through the ER doors because her legs still worked and nobody told her to stop. A nurse she'd traded shifts with last week caught her eye and then looked away. The charge nurse pinched Haley's badge lanyard, read it, and let it drop. A doctor she didn't know spoke in clipped phrases. Ma'am, we did everything we could. Another nurse steered Haley to plastic chairs by a small family room and set a cup of water on the armrest. Ethan arrived 10 minutes later, shirt half tucked, already wearing a face for other people. A local reporter waited near the ambulance bay. Then 2. Ethan walked toward them without looking back. He pressed his palms to his temples and made a sound that carried. He waited until a camera swung toward him, then wiped his cheeks with hands like he needed witnesses. That's my son, he said. A camera light blinked. Ethan held the pose long enough for focus, then straightened and kept his voice steady. Please, he said, give us privacy. Security tried to move the reporters. Ethan let them drift with him anyway, stopping where the hospital logo sat behind his shoulder. Haley watched from the chairs while a social worker asked for a contact number and spelled the child's name out loud, twice. When Ethan finally returned, the warmth dropped out of his face like a switch. "Don't make this worse," he said. "Just don't." A detective asked Ethan to stand apart. Another officer approached Haley. "We're going to need you tomorrow morning," the officer said. 9 o'clock. Haley nodded. Her phone buzzed nonstop. A coworker texted, "You okay?" Then followed with, "Never mind, I just saw the video." By late afternoon, her manager called her into a glass-walled office and stayed standing. "Haley, I'm putting you on administrative leave," he said. "Paid, for now." He slid a printed list of counseling numbers across the desk and reminded her not to speak to media on hospital property. He didn't say he believed her. He didn't say anything about coming back. In the parking lot, 2 nurses stopped talking when she walked past. A man in scrubs stared at her badge like he was verifying a rumor. Haley got into her car and sat without turning the key. Security walked a slow loop nearby, and she realized she was the problem they were managing, not the reporters. An email popped up from Sun Valley Daycare. Subject line, "Cooperation with investigation." It thanked her for working with authorities and ended like a ban. "Please do not return to the premises until further notice." Another alert followed from a neighborhood Facebook group she joined for pool recommendations. Someone had posted her name, a screenshot from the video, and her home address. Comments stacked fast. "Hope she rots." "Call CPS." "Take her license." "Find her." She drove home anyway and parked on the street. A neighbor watering his lawn stopped mid-spray and watched her. Haley went around the side gate. A sheet of printer paper was taped to the front door. Block letters, sharp and uneven. "Mom killed her kid." She peeled it off, folded it twice, and shoved it into her pocket like a bill. The knob turned. She didn't step over the threshold. She backed away and sat on the bottom step, phone in her lap. Her mailbox was open, stuffed with printouts of the same screenshot, as if someone had done the legwork for her. Headlights swept the curb. Maya Alvarez rolled down her window. "Get in," Maya said. "Right now." Haley didn't argue. Maya drove to a diner off a frontage road where nobody cared who walked in. They took a booth near the register. Maya set a legal pad on the table. "Tell me the timeline," Maya said, "minute by minute." Haley slid her phone across. Maya didn't touch it. "Don't delete anything," Maya said. "Not texts, not calls, not the video. You hear me?" "Keep the clothes you wore today," Maya said. "Bag them. Don't wash anything yet." Haley nodded. Maya stared at the coffee that had been poured before they sat and was already turning cold. "You're living in true crime," Maya said, matter of fact. "Only difference is, you don't get to change your name." A waitress set down 2 waters without asking. "Kitchen's still open," she said. Haley's phone lit up with a number she didn't recognize. It kept flashing. Maya held up a palm. "Don't," Maya said. Haley watched the after-hours defense attorney's text scroll across. Misdemeanor/felony? And the phone kept ringing until she answered anyway, fingers slipping on the glass. "This is Haley," she said. A man's voice came through, flat and practiced. "We're looking at a possible manslaughter charge, ma'am," he said, "and we need to ask you some questions." Haley kept the phone to her ear while Maya stared at her like a traffic light stuck on red. "We're looking at a possible manslaughter charge, ma'am," the man said, "and we need to ask you some questions." Maya shook her head hard. "Who is this?" Haley asked. "Detective Rains with Phoenix PD." "Ma'am, where are you right now?" Haley glanced at the diner menu, then at the door. "We'll talk tomorrow," she said. "You already told me 9 a.m. Rains paused. "Do not leave town," he said. Haley ended the call and slid the phone face down. Maya exhaled. By 9 sharp the next morning, Haley sat in a gray interview room with a paper cup of water and her ER badge tucked away. A recorder clicked on. Detective Rains laid photos on the table. Her car, the daycare lot, the broken window. "Walk me through your day," he said. She answered in timestamps, the way she gave report at shift change. Rains didn't interrupt until he reached for a separate form. "One more thing," he said. Who has access to the vehicle control app for your family car? Haley blinked, then looked at the pen in his hand. She didn't answer right away. She'd never downloaded the app. Ethan had set everything up when they bought the car, saying it was easier if one person managed it. Rains watched her hesitation and tapped the incident report. At 11:58, you called 911, he said. At 11:59, the vehicle is logged as locked. My key was on me, Haley said. Rains nodded like that was the point. So, again, he said, who can lock it from the outside? Haley reached into her bag, pulled out the fob, and placed it on the table. Her fingers shook, but she kept them. Rains asked about her shift, her sleep, what she'd eaten, who drove last. He circled back to her job like it was a diagnosis. Any sedatives? He asked. Sleep meds? Haley's mouth tightened. If I had sleeping pills, she said, I'd have slept. The room went still. Rains wrote something anyway. He slid another photo forward, a screenshot from the viral clip, Ethan's arm around his own head. Your husband says you forgot, Rains said. Haley didn't look up from the fob. On the wall, a posted sign warned that lying to police was a crime. She read it twice. After the statement, an officer walked her to the impound lot behind the station. Her car sat with tape across the doors and a paper tag on the mirror. The rear window was patched with plastic. Haley leaned toward the driver's door and saw the lock indicator flicker once, then stop, as if the car were thinking. You can't touch it, the officer said. I'm not, she replied. Maya waited by the gate, legal pad tucked under her arm. Telematics, Maya said. App logs. Cloud backups. Ask your lawyer today. Haley nodded and backed away, keeping hands in her pockets. At home, Ethan met her in the driveway, not at the door. He spoke before she could. I told him I'm not a tech guy, he said. I don't mess with apps. He said it like a favor he'd done her. Then he glanced at her phone. Give me your iCloud password, Ethan added. I'll handle the memorial stuff, photos, paperwork. Haley didn't move. Ethan's gaze slid past her toward the garage camera, the one he'd installed and registered under his email. Come on, he said. Don't make this harder. She walked past him, opened the gate, and left him. That afternoon, her defense attorney met them in a small office near the courthouse and spoke in careful, practical sentences. They're testing the angle that you were impaired, he said, and they'll pressure you to cooperate. He asked for her phone, then stopped himself. Just show me, he said. Haley scrolled while Maya watched the screen like it might bite. The attorney pointed to the daycare email, the doxing post, the call log from Detective Rains. We're filing to preserve the vehicle data, he said. Today. A knock came, and a prosecutor stepped in with a folder. She didn't smile. The prosecutor introduced herself, set the folder down, and spoke as if offering a payment plan. If you cooperate early, we can recommend leniency, she said. Sign this acknowledgement, and we'll discuss options. Haley read the header, then the blanks for her name. The words looked clean, like they hadn't touched real life. The prosecutor slid a pen closer. Just initial, she said. Haley reached for it. Her phone buzzed on the table. A new message from Maya flashed. Don't sign. Something's off. Haley's fingers paused above the pen, and the prosecutor's voice kept going, explaining consequences Haley didn't hear. The prosecutor kept talking, pointing at the signature line as if it were a receipt. Maya's message still glowed on the screen. Don't sign. Something's off. The defense attorney cleared his throat. My client isn't signing anything today, he said. She's still gathering records. The prosecutor's smile tightened. Cooperation goes a long way, she said. So does the truth, Maya replied, and the attorney shot her a look that meant save it for later. They walked out with the folder still open on the table. Haley's knees felt reliable only because she kept moving. In the hallway, the attorney leaned close. If they offer leniency this early, it's because they think they can paint you as the whole story, he said. We need objective data. Maya followed him to his office and spread Haley's phone records across the desk like patient charts. The attorney asked for the garage camera login. Haley shrugged. "I don't have it," she said. "Ethan set it up." "Then we're going to your house," the attorney said. "Today, before anyone accidentally updates anything." Ethan met them in the driveway again, wearing the same grief-like a uniform. "Why are you bringing people here?" he asked. Haley kept her voice even. "Because they asked for the camera footage." Ethan blinked once. "What camera footage?" he said. "The garage. The one you bragged records everything," Maya said. He waved them toward the garage door. "Fine," he said. "Whatever helps." The attorney stood by the workbench and opened the camera app on his laptop. Maya read off dates while Haley watched the loading wheel spin. The system asked for a password. Ethan stepped forward, typed it, and hit enter without looking at Haley. A list of clips appeared, neat little thumbnails. The attorney selected the day of the daycare. The screen flashed, then a message popped up. "No recordings found." Maya leaned closer. "That's not normal," she said. The attorney didn't raise his voice. He just stared at the message a beat too long, then murmured, almost to himself, "Technology's loyal to whoever holds the password." Haley turned to Ethan. "What did you do?" Ethan lifted both hands like she'd accused him of stealing oxygen. "I cleaned it up," he said. "I couldn't stand seeing it. I just wanted to clear some space so you wouldn't have to relive it." "You reset the camera," the attorney said, calm but sharp, "after an active investigation started." Ethan's eyes watered on cue. "You think I did something wrong?" he said. "I'm trying to survive this too." Haley stepped toward him before she could stop herself. "Survive?" she said. "You survived the parking lot just fine. You survived telling everyone I forgot him." The attorney touched Haley's elbow, a warning. Ethan seized the pause. He backed up half a step and spoke toward the attorney like Haley wasn't there. "See," he said, "she's not okay. She's lashing out. She needs help, not accusations." Maya's jaw tightened. "Don't do that," she said. Ethan looked wounded. "I'm not doing anything," he said. "I'm just saying what I'm seeing." The attorney closed the laptop. "Here's what I'm seeing," he said. "The state will argue you destroyed evidence. They'll also argue my client can't prove her timeline without video. That makes their job easier." Haley's phone buzzed again. This time it was an email from HR at the hospital. She opened it because that's what she did with messages that mattered. The subject line said, "Administrative suspension, effective immediately." The body was short, formal, and final. Her access badge was deactivated. Her shifts were reassigned. She was instructed not to contact coworkers about the case. Maya watched Haley's face change and didn't ask why. "They cut you off," Maya said. Haley put the phone down on the workbench next to Ethan's folded hands. Ethan glanced at the screen, then at her. "I told you," he said, softer. "Don't make it worse." The attorney picked up his briefcase. "We'll file preservation requests for the vehicle data and any cloud backups," he said. "And we'll subpoena whatever we can from the camera company. But this missing footage is gone unless there's a copy." Ethan followed them toward the door like he was escorting guests. "Haley, let's not do this," he said. "People are watching." Haley didn't answer. She walked back into the garage after they stepped onto the driveway, drawn to the small black camera tucked under the eave. Its green light glowed steady, like nothing had happened. She reached up, fingertips brushing the housing, feeling the plastic warmth from the afternoon. Ethan's phone vibrated in his pocket. He moved fast, stepping between her and the camera, blocking it with his shoulder as if that was instinct, not choice. Maya's eyes flicked to his pocket when the phone buzzed, then back to his face. "Move," Maya said. Ethan didn't. He lifted his chin, sorrow ready again. "I'm protecting our family," he said. The attorney stepped closer, voice measured. "Step aside, Ethan," he said. "You don't need to touch anything else today." Ethan's mouth tightened. He shifted just enough for Haley to see the green light and the small sticker with a serial number. She memorized it because that was something she could do. They left before Haley said another word. On the drive to the courthouse, her attorney spoke while keeping his eyes on traffic. "The state sent a case summary," he said. "They're building a narrative, and they're doing it fast." At the county building, security wanded her like she might be carrying something contagious. A clerk guided them into a small conference room where a prosecutor waited with a folder and a paper cup of water. "Ms. Carter," the prosecutor said, "we can resolve this without a trial." Haley's attorney slid the folder toward himself first, read for a minute, then slid a single page toward Haley. It wasn't the plea deal yet. It was a summary. A clean story with bold headings. Negligent mother. Fatigued nurse. Forgotten child. Haley kept her face steady. The words that followed weren't new, but the phrasing hit like a replay. "She was tired," the summary said. "She forgot." It was the same sentence Ethan had tossed across the daycare lot, the same cadence, like he'd practiced it on his tongue and handed it off. Haley looked at her attorney. "They quoted him," she said. The prosecutor nodded, calm, almost kind. "Your husband has been cooperative," she said. "He's grieving. He just wants closure." Haley's fingers pressed into the edge of the table until it hurt. The prosecutor's pen tapped once. "If you accept responsibility," the prosecutor said, "we can recommend reduced time, no public trial, no prolonged media cycle." The attorney leaned back. "Offer?" he asked. The prosecutor slid another sheet across. Lines, initials, a box that said manslaughter. Haley read it twice. She knew how paperwork worked. One signature, and the rest of the world would stop asking questions. It would also stop caring whether the answer was true. Her attorney kept his voice low. "This is a choice," he said, "not a confession pulled from you." Maya sat beside Haley, still, hands folded. She didn't interrupt the legal talk. She waited until the prosecutor stepped out to take a call and the door shut. Maya turned her head a fraction. "You can live with people thinking you forgot him," Maya said. "Can you live with that being what he wanted?" Haley didn't answer. Her throat tightened and she forced her hand to unclench from the table. She stared at the plea form again and pictured a future measured in probation meetings and internet comments. The prosecutor returned and placed her phone face down. "Think about your family," she said. Haley's phone lit up anyway. Ethan's name appeared. A text followed before she could flip it over. "If you love our son, don't drag this out," he wrote. "I can't take it." Haley showed Maya and the attorney, then typed with her thumb steady from muscle memory. "You can handle interviews better than you can handle the truth," she sent. Maya gave a short, humorless breath through her nose, the closest thing to relief Haley had felt all week. The prosecutor watched Haley's screen. "Please," she said, "sign. Let everyone move forward." Haley picked up the paper, held it at arm's length, then set it down in the center of the table as if returning a tray. "No," she said. The prosecutor's expression stiffened. "Then we proceed," she said. Haley stood, the chair legs scraped. She looked at her attorney. "File for the cloud data," she said. "Today." He nodded once. Outside the room, they paused by a vending machine that hummed and pretended nothing mattered. The attorney spoke without turning his head. "If they file the count, they'll ask for years," he said, "and the news will camp on your lawn." Haley watched two strangers glance at her, then at their phones, as if confirming her face. For a second, she considered how easy it would be to sign and disappear, to let the case become someone else's problem. Then she remembered Ethan blocking the camera with his body, like reflex. As they walked toward the elevator bank, the doors slid open, and Haley's phone flashed a security alert across the lock screen. "New device signed into your account." Haley watched the security alert glow on her phone while Maya walked her to the courthouse exit, close enough to discourage strangers from drifting near. The message repeated like a stuck alarm. New device, new sign-in. Her attorney veered toward his office to file requests, leaving Haley and Maya by the vending machines. "Go home and touch nothing you don't have to," Maya said. Haley nodded, got to her car, and drove back to the house she no longer trusted for the first time. She used the side gate, avoided the front door, and went straight to the small workroom where Ethan kept spare chargers and old tablets. She didn't turn on lights. Daylight was enough. On the desk sat a dusty tablet they'd stopped using after a screen crack. Haley pressed the power button and held her breath until it woke. A family photo appeared, then the cloud icon, still signed in. She set the tablet flat and pulled up the account page, moving the way she handled controlled substances at work. Slow, documented, no improvising, because mistakes here could cost her everything. The attorney had asked for anything that showed timelines, but Haley wasn't thinking about court yet. She was thinking about a memorial table and the one picture her mother would want framed. She opened the photo library and scrolled, thumb stiff. The tablet lagged, then loaded months of snapshots. Birthday candles, a toy truck, a smear of frosting on a small cheek. She selected several and tapped download. A progress bar crawled. Her phone buzzed with messages she didn't read. She kept saving files, building a folder labeled simply "For Sunday" so she could hand them to the pastor later. A menu button offered Activity and Recent Searches, the kind of feature Ethan loved because it made technology feel like a helpful assistant. Haley tapped it, expecting to see her own recent photo searches. Instead, a list appeared under Ethan's name, time-stamped and blunt. How to remote lock car. Auto lock settings from phone. Can you lock a vehicle remotely? Her hand stopped midair. She swiped down, more entries, then one that made her stomach tighten. Erase security camera footage. She didn't know what any of it proved, but it didn't belong near their son's death, not even as a coincidence. The moment she tapped the last entry, the screen flashed and kicked her back to the login page. A red banner read, "Session expired." Haley tried again. The password failed. Her email pinged on her phone. "Security alert! Your password was changed." Another alert followed, then another, each one a small slap. She grabbed the tablet, checked Wi-Fi, checked the time, checked her hands like they might be the problem. Outside, a lawn service truck rumbled past. Haley set the tablet down and dialed Maya before she could talk herself out of it. The call connected on the second ring exactly. Maya answered without hello. "Tell me you didn't sign anything," she said. "I didn't," Haley said, "but someone just changed our cloud password." Maya paused. "Did you see anything before you got locked out?" Haley held the phone between shoulder and ear and reopened her email, reading the search phrases out loud. Maya cut in. "Screenshot whatever you have," she said. "Use that tablet if it still shows it. If not, photograph the screen from your phone. Save it to a file, not just the gallery. Email it to your attorney right now. Don't wait." "I'm coming over if needed." Haley moved through the workroom, collecting proof like she was labeling specimens. The tablet still held the activity page in its memory, half loaded, the search terms visible enough. She snapped photos with her phone, then saved them to a note app and exported them as a file. Her hands shook, so she used the desk edge to steady the phone. "Photos of my kid disappear," she said, voice thin. "But my husband's search history gets archived. Thanks, technology." She emailed the file to her attorney with a subject line that read, "Please preserve this," and hit send twice for luck. A second later, an error message popped up, then vanished, and the tablet demanded a password again. Haley heard tires slow on the street. A car door shut. She didn't move toward the window. She stayed at the desk, phone in her hand, listening to footsteps cross gravel. A shadow passed along the blinds. Her phone brightened with the family lock screen, Ethan's name at the top like it belonged there. A new message appeared before she could turn it over. "What are you doing in my account?" "That's our account," Haley said. "No," he replied. "It's under my name." He reached for the tablet. Haley slid it away and hit the power button until the screen went dark. Ethan's jaw worked. He pulled out his phone and started typing, thumbs fast. "Give me the password you used," he said. "I didn't use one," Haley said. "It was already signed in." He laughed once, short, like she'd told him a cute story. "You're digging," he said. Stop. A car slowed at the curb. Another. Someone's voice carried from the sidewalk. That's her house. Haley glanced through the blinds and saw two phones raised, their owners lingering like tourists. Ethan noticed them too and softened his face before he even turned. He opened the front door wider and let the heat and the attention in. Haley, don't, Maya said from the phone speaker. She'd stayed on the line after hearing the knob. Haley kept her voice low. They're outside, she said. Ethan lifted his voice anyway. She's been acting unstable, he called toward the porch, as if reporting a leak. I'm trying to keep things calm. Something hit the front door, a dull thud, then slid down. Ethan flinched late. 2 patrol officers arrived within minutes, not rushing. One spoke to Ethan first, then to Haley, eyes flicking to the phones on the sidewalk. Ma'am, for your safety, you should stay somewhere else tonight, he said. I can't, Haley said. He looked at her like he'd heard that line all week. You can, he said. You just shouldn't stay here. Maya's voice cut in. I'll book her a motel, she said. At the motel off Interstate 17, the clerk slid a key card across the counter without meeting her eyes. Non-smoking or smoking? He asked. The kind with no one filming me, Haley said. The clerk blinked, then pointed down the hall. In the room, Haley tried her debit card for a bottle of water from the machine. Declined. She checked the shared account app and saw a new notification. Card suspended by primary user. Maya arrived with a folder and 2 burritos, like they were supplies. She set them on the bed and opened her phone to an email. He filed something, Maya said. What kind of something? Haley asked. A motion for property protection, Maya said. He's telling the court you can't access the garage because you might tamper with evidence. Haley stared at the words and then at the burritos. He reset the camera, she said. Maya shrugged. That's not in his motion, she said. The next morning, they met the attorney in the county lot behind the courthouse because he said walls had ears and parking lots only had heat. He handed Haley a letter from the prosecutor's office with a stamped deadline for discovery requests. 5 days, he said. Haley nodded and asked for one thing, her son's small blanket and the toy truck for the service. She called Ethan, put him on speaker so Maya and the attorney could hear. Can I have his blanket in the truck? She asked. Ethan waited a beat. She's calling me again, he said loudly, and Haley heard voices behind him, maybe neighbors, maybe family. Haley, you need to stop harassing me, he said. I'm asking for his things, she said. You're proving what everyone's saying, Ethan replied. The attorney took the phone and ended the call. Back at the motel, Haley tried logging into the cloud again and got another password error. Her paycheck portal showed 0 hours scheduled. She texted a coworker she barely knew from nights and asked for a short loan, just to keep the attorney paid. The coworker sent $200 with no message, which somehow felt worse than an insult. Her attorney called at dusk. They're seeking a warrant for your devices, he said. Phone, tablet, anything with account access. If they get them before we preserve the data, we're chasing smoke. Maya held up her hand for Haley to breathe and stay still. Don't let them take it without your lawyer present, Maya said. Haley looked at her phone on the bed, then at the cracked tablet. She didn't hide anything. She just set both where she could see them, like patients on monitors. The call cut out as someone knocked on the motel door. 2 male voices came through, official and impatient. Haley Carter, one said. Yes? We have a warrant to collect electronic devices related to the investigation. Maya appeared behind Haley with her phone already up. Her attorney needs to be on speaker, Maya said. One officer nodded and held out the paperwork through the gap. Haley read her name, the case number, and the word telematics. The second officer looked past her into the room as if counting outlets. A guest across the lot raised a phone, then lowered it when the first officer turned his head. Haley swallowed and unhooked the chain without speaking. The officers let her call her lawyer, but they didn't wait for him to drive over. Ma'am, we'll inventory everything and give you a receipt, the taller one said. Haley placed her phone, the cracked tablet, and a spare USB drive on the bedspread. Maya photographed each item before it left the room. Any passwords? The officer asked. My client will provide access through counsel. the attorney said through Maya's speaker. The officer's pen scratched. "You can keep this paper copy," he said, handing Haley the receipt. "But the devices come with us." Haley watched their hands, not their faces. By midday, Haley sat in her attorney's conference room with nothing in her pockets except the motel keycard and the folded receipt. He slid her emailed screenshots across the table, now printed and labeled. "This is what saved us," he said. Maya pointed at the timestamps. "Not saved," she corrected. "Just not dead yet." The attorney called a digital forensics consultant he trusted and booked a same-day slot. "We need a certified report," he told Haley. "Searches alone won't win, but they can open doors." Haley nodded, gathered the pages. The consultant's office sat in a strip mall between a tax service and a vape shop. The receptionist asked for IDs, then led them to a back room where a man named Curtis set a laptop on the table. "I don't do feelings," Curtis said. "I do metadata." He reviewed the screenshots, then connected to a secure portal to pull what had already arrived through the attorney's preservation request: account logs, device lists, and partial activity records. Curtis worked quickly, narrating only when asked. "Your husband administers the camera and the family cloud," he said. "That's the first fact that matters." Curtis pulled up a timeline view and scrolled without drama. A row of search entries appeared, not a single panic query, but clusters spaced over weeks. "Remote lock," he read. "Auto lock delay. Remote unlock confirmation." Maya leaned forward. "That's before the daycare," she said. Curtis nodded and kept scrolling. "Here's the same topic the day after," he said, "and again 2 days later." He opened another panel labeled security devices. The garage camera showed a reset event, then a new memory card registration, both logged under Ethan's credentials. "So the camera didn't glitch," the attorney said. Curtis shrugged. "Cloud doesn't have morals," he said. "It has habits. People repeat what they plan to use." Haley watched the cursor, feeling pulse. Back in the attorney's meeting room, he laid out what it meant in plain terms. "Ethan's 'it auto-locks' line isn't just commentary," he said. "It reads like rehearsal." Maya tapped the reset log. "And the missing footage wasn't bad luck," she said. The attorney nodded. "But the state will say searches don't equal actions," he said. "We need the vehicle's command logs, lock, unlock, timestamps, and we need the cloud provider to certify this trail." Haley asked one question. "How fast can we get it?" He slid paperwork forward. "Today," he said. Before Haley could sign, a new email hit the attorney's inbox, and he read it aloud without softening. "Ethan Cole alleges unauthorized access to family accounts," he said. "He's requesting sanctions and claiming you stole data." Maya laughed once, sharp. "He reset a camera and now wants sanctions," she said. The attorney didn't smile. "This is why we move with paper," he said. "He's trying to make you look like the technician instead of the accused parent." Haley's phone buzzed with another alert. Account settings changed. Curtis glanced up, unimpressed. The attorney slid warrant requests across the table and tapped the tabs: vehicle logs, app access records, cloud certification, and the camera vendor. "Sign," he said. "If Ethan changes devices again, tomorrow won't match today." Haley took the pen and initialed line after line, keeping her handwriting consistent. Maya stood near the door. Curtis watched his screen. A security banner lit the borrowed phone. "New device signed into your account." Maya leaned close. "He's doing it again," she said. Haley looked up as the attorney's paralegal stepped in with a stack of mail and a tired smile. The knock hadn't meant a raid. It meant paperwork. The paralegal slid an envelope across the table and pointed to a date stamped in red. "We just got this from the county attorney," she said. "It's a plea deadline." Haley watched her lawyer read, jaw tightening. He did not swear. He simply set the letter beside the warrant requests like another weight. 2 hours later, they met in the courthouse parking lot because the attorney said walls collected gossip. Maya arrived with a paper bag of muffins and a folder thicker than her patience. Haley held the paralegal's letter in both hands. "If you don't take the deal by Friday at 4, they file the higher count," the attorney said. "And then it's public. Arraignment, cameras, all of it." Haley folded the letter once, then again, and slid it into a purse without looking at Maya. They went back to the same diner off the frontage road, the one that never asked questions. The attorney spread documents across the table: the forensics consultant's preliminary notes, the screenshots, and the prosecutor's narrative summary with Ethan's line baked into it. "They're still pushing tired nurse forgot child," he said. Maya turned the paper so Haley could see the phrase underlined. She was tired. She forgot. Haley did not argue. She stacked the pages into neat piles, oldest on the bottom, newest on top, aligning corners like she was closing out a chart before shift change. For a minute, that felt safer than talking. Her attorney watched her hands. "Haley, this is what the plea does," he said. "It ends the case fast, but it labels you." She picked up the plea form and traced the blank for her name with a fingernail, then set it down like it was contaminated. She didn't say she was scared. She just asked the only practical question she could think of. "If I sign," she said, "my name sits next to my son's name on Google forever, right?" Maya reached into her folder and pulled out a stapled packet. It was printed screenshots of comments, the worst ones, selected with surgical cruelty. She slid them across without apology. "Read it," Maya said. Haley flipped the first page. The words were spelled wrong, but the meaning was precise. Another page suggested what should happen to her in prison. Another listed her address again. Maya tapped the stack. "This is the audience," she said. "They hate you whether you take the deal or not." Haley set the packet aside and looked at her attorney. "I work ER," she said. "I'm used to bad outcomes. This time, the patient is me." The attorney didn't react, just nodded as if that were a plan. "We can request a hearing on the digital evidence," he said. "We can push for the vehicle command logs." Haley pushed the plea form back toward him across the table. "File the subpoenas," she said. "Ask for the app logs. Ask for the cloud certification. Put it in front of a judge." Maya watched her for a beat, then started gathering the papers into the folder like they were heading to surgery. An hour later, they walked the corridor outside the prosecutor's office, past framed posters about victims' rights and a receptionist who kept smiling too hard. The attorney asked for the assigned prosecutor and handed over a short letter. "My client declines the plea offer," he said. "We're requesting a motion hearing on digital records and preservation." The prosecutor scanned it, then looked at Haley as if checking for remorse. "You're choosing a trial," she said. "I'm choosing facts," Haley replied. The prosecutor's pen clicked. "Friday at 4 still stands," she said. "After that, we file." Haley nodded once, like she'd been given discharge instructions. Maya stood slightly behind her, phone ready, and the attorney kept his voice even as he asked for written confirmation of every deadline. The receptionist watched Haley's face, then typed something into her computer, and Haley wondered how many stories fit into one line that day. They exited into the main hallway where sound carried. A reporter in a blazer stepped from behind a column and shoved a microphone toward Haley's mouth. "Are you pleading guilty?" he asked. Another camera swung in, light bright. Haley kept walking, eyes on the elevator signs. "No," she said. "Then why should anyone believe you?" the reporter pressed. A courthouse security guard moved between them and hooked an arm lightly around Haley's elbow, guiding her sideways. "Ma'am, this way," he said. The elevator doors met with a soft thud, cutting off the reporter's voice. Haley kept her eyes on the floor numbers while the security guard's hand hovered near the panel, ready to block anyone who tried to follow. Maya stood close enough that their sleeves touched. Haley's lawyer checked his watch. "Pre-trial's at 2, he said. "We go in through the side entrance." Haley nodded and followed them out when the doors opened. By the time they reached the county courtroom, a deputy had already read Haley's name off a clipboard. The hallway held families, lawyers, and a few strangers who pretended not to stare. A bailiff pointed them to the last row. Ethan arrived with his sister and a man Haley didn't recognize, all in dark clothes that looked chosen for cameras. Ethan sat one row ahead, shoulders rounded, hands clasped like prayer. When he turned, he didn't smile. He offered the smallest nod, as if they were colleagues at a funeral. The prosecutor stood and spoke first, voice steady, rehearsed. She described Haley as an exhausted nurse who made a tragic mistake, and she said it without using the word accident once. She held up the viral clip and called it context. Haley's lawyer rose to object, but the judge let the prosecutor finish. When it was their turn, the lawyer asked the court to preserve digital records from the vehicle app, the cloud account, and the garage camera vendor. He referenced the preliminary forensics review and requested a hearing on authentication. The judge listened, then asked, "Do you have certified provider logs today?" The lawyer said no. The judge tapped his file and replied, "Then we're not litigating cloud screenshots at this stage." The prosecutor pounced on the opening. She asked for stricter evidence protection conditions, citing unauthorized access and risk of deletion. Haley's lawyer argued that Haley needed her accounts to gather funeral photos and communicate with counsel. The judge compromised in a way that felt like a punishment. Haley would surrender any devices tied to the accounts and would not attempt to log in without her attorney present. Ethan was called briefly to address the court on family circumstances. He answered the prosecutor's questions in short sentences and avoided every technical detail as if it might stain his hands. When Haley's lawyer asked who managed the vehicle app, Ethan blinked and said, "I'm not really a tech person." Then he turned toward the bench and added, "I just want to close this and let my son rest." She's turning everything into a war. The judge thanked Ethan and noted the court's interest in orderly process. Haley's lawyer leaned toward her and whispered, "They're calling you a cybersecurity risk." Haley kept her face straight and murmured back, "I can't even remember our Wi-Fi password." Maya's shoulders lifted once, then settled. The judge set the next hearing date and reminded everyone about media contact, as if that had ever been optional. Outside the courtroom, the hallway filled fast. A clerk handed Haley's lawyer stamped orders, and he read them while walking. "They want your borrowed phone, too," he said. "Anything you use to access accounts." Haley stopped at the security station by the exit and held out the device Maya had loaned her. The deputy checked the serial number against the order and placed it in a plastic bin with a numbered tag. Haley signed the receipt with a pen chained to the counter, then rubbed the ink off her finger like it was dirt. On the courthouse steps, reporters swarmed Ethan first. He spoke in short answers, chin down, grief polished. He slipped past the microphones, then turned his head just once toward Haley. His eyes met hers long enough to register, and then he stepped into the crowd again as a guard guided Haley toward the side door, asking, "Ma'am, this way. Keep moving." Haley's lawyer walked on her other side, one hand on his briefcase, the other holding the court order like a fragile plate. Maya followed a step behind, scanning faces the way she used to scan for drunk visitors in the ER waiting room. A reporter lunged around the guard and shouted, "Do you admit you forgot him?" The guard angled his body and repeated, "Keep moving." Haley didn't answer. She looked at her hands, bare, no phone, no keys, just skin and the crease from the pen chain. The guard steered her toward the side corridor that led back to the parking lot, and the voices kept chasing as the door latch clicked and... Her attorney murmured, "We'll fight the conditions." Haley rode back to the motel with Maya driving and her attorney following in his own car. The courthouse had taken Haley's borrowed phone, so Maya kept hers on the console, screen up, like a heartbeat monitor. When they pulled into the lot, two people near the ice machine stopped talking and pretended to check their keys. In the room, Haley sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the plastic door hanger that read, "Do not disturb." She touched it once with her knuckle, as if it might respond. "I wish life came with this sign," she said. Maya opened her laptop on the small table and logged into a news site. "They posted something new," Maya said. It was a screenshot of a text thread, cropped and rearranged. Haley recognized her own number from the last digit pattern, even though the name was blurred. The message that appeared under her side was the line she'd sent Ethan during the plea deadline week, but the context was gone. It read like a punchline from a stranger. You can handle interviews better than you can handle the truth. Under it, someone had added a caption, ER nurse jokes while child dies. The comments were already multiplying. Haley watched the words stack, each one louder than the last. Maya didn't soften her voice. They cut it to make you sound smug, she said. It's working. Haley stood, grabbed her motel keycard, and walked out before she said something that could be recorded. Maya followed her down the walkway and back to the car. They drove to the hospital, but stopped at the far end of the employee parking lot, where Haley's badge wouldn't open any doors anyway. A security guard by the main entrance watched them without waving. Haley's manager called while they sat there, and Maya put the call on speaker. Haley, I need you to understand, the manager said. We're getting calls. People are demanding termination. They're threatening staff. I'm already suspended, Haley said. We may have to make it permanent, he replied. This is about safety. Maya shut her laptop and looked out the windshield. They're treating you like a hazard code, she said. By the time they reached the attorney's office, his paralegal had pulled up the trust ledger. The attorney didn't lean on drama. He didn't have to. He slid a single sheet toward Haley and tapped the numbers. This is where we are, he said. Digital forensics costs real money. If we don't pay Curtis to keep digging, we lose momentum. I don't have it, Haley said. Your joint accounts are locked, Maya added, and your cards are suspended. The attorney nodded. Then we find a way, he said. But I need you to understand what the state will say if we stall. They'll claim you're hiding, not preserving. Maya's phone buzzed with a calendar alert, then a new email from HR at the hospital. Her face changed in a way Haley recognized from trauma rooms. Controlled, practical, annoyed at the timing. They're calling me in, Maya said. About you. You don't have to, Haley replied. I'm not leaving you, Maya said. I'm just going to get yelled at in a nicer chair. After Maya left, Haley sat across from her lawyer while he read a fresh filing from Ethan's attorney. Ethan was requesting expanded restrictions, claiming Haley had interfered with evidence and should be barred from any access to vehicle data, camera records, or family cloud accounts. He's trying to turn your caution into misconduct, the attorney said. He reset the camera, Haley said. I know, the attorney replied, but the court likes clean hands and he's wearing gloves. Haley's motel receipt and the courthouse device inventory sat in her purse like proof she existed. The attorney's paralegal offered a cup of water and avoided looking at her face. A few minutes later, the attorney's phone rang. He listened, asked 2 short questions, then ended the call and turned his screen away as if it were something sharp. The county attorney is considering an additional charge, he said. If they can frame your access as unauthorized, they'll argue obstruction. I accessed my own family account, Haley said. They'll say it wasn't yours, he replied. That's why we need certified provider logs, not screenshots. Haley reached for the paper with the next deadline and started stacking the documents by date again, aligning the corners, keeping her hands busy so her voice didn't change. The attorney watched her, then slid a final printout toward her, fresh from his email. A subject line sat at the top in plain font, Security Notice. Haley read the first sentence twice before it settled. Your cloud access has been permanently revoked. Haley didn't go back to the courthouse first. She went to the funeral home because the service date didn't care about filings, and the man behind the counter didn't ask about warrants. He asked about flowers, a photo board, and whether she wanted a small viewing before the memorial. A woman arranging programs glanced at Haley's face, then at her phone, then kept folding paper. Nobody said anything directly. That was worse than yelling. Haley handed over a thumb drive Maya had brought, the one with the few photos they'd managed to save before the cloud door slammed shut. The director plugged it into his computer and nodded once. We can print these, he said. Do you have more? Not anymore, Haley said. Outside, Ethan stood near his car with his sister, talking to 2 people Haley recognized from the neighborhood group. When he noticed Haley, his shoulders dropped like he was performing weight. We should talk, he said, stepping forward. Not here, Haley replied. He tried to move closer anyway, and Maya's hand lifted in front of him, not touching him, just drawing a line. Through counsel, Maya said. Ethan's eyes narrowed, then softened again as someone walked by. He turned away, face arranged for witnesses. Back at the attorney's office, Haley set the funeral home receipt on the table with the rest of the papers. Her lawyer read the latest email from the cloud provider, then slid it back as if it was dirty. Permanent revocation makes it harder, he said. Not impossible. Maya opened her bag and placed a small spiral notebook in front of Haley. Checklist, she said. Not feelings, just tasks. Haley wrote 2 lines. Photos printed, service time confirmed. Then she paused, pen hovering, and stared at the blank space like it was a door she couldn't open. She flipped back through old pages and found what she needed without making a speech. A year ago she'd written, backup laptop, closet shelf, blue case. Ethan had complained about clutter, and she'd kept it anyway because she liked redundancy. They drove to the house mid-afternoon with the attorney's paralegal waiting in her car across the street, ready to document. Haley didn't go to the garage. She went to the hall closet and reached up to the shelf. Her fingers found the blue case. She pulled it down and unzipped it. An old laptop sat in foam, along with an external hard drive she'd used in nursing school. Haley carried both out without looking around the living room. She didn't touch framed photos. She didn't open drawers Ethan could claim she'd rummaged through. She took only what she could name on paper. Curtis, the forensics consultant, met them at his office and accepted the devices like medical specimens. Do you know the login? He asked. I do, Haley said. It's mine. Curtis connected the hard drive first, then the laptop. He didn't celebrate anything. He just worked, clicking through file trees, verifying timestamps, building a chain of custody report, while the attorney watched the clock. Maya stood near the door and kept her phone angled down, recording only the serial numbers in Curtis's labels. After an hour, Curtis turned the screen toward Haley and pointed with 2 fingers. This is a local cache, he said. It's not the provider's official record, but it preserves metadata, creation dates, access logs, sync traces. He pulled up a folder with partial backups, including the same activity page Haley had photographed, but captured earlier and in a format that showed more than a screenshot could. The search entries appeared again, and then again, in a pattern that looked like practice. Remote lock, Curtis read. Auto lock delay. Erase camera footage. And here's another reset event that aligns with the day you said the garage showed no recordings. Haley kept her hands on her knees. The attorney asked the questions that mattered, and Curtis answered without raising his voice. With this, Curtis said, you can petition the court to compel the provider to release certified logs. You're not asking them to trust your phone camera. You're asking them to trust their own systems. Maya let out a breath she didn't label. On the way back to the attorney's office, Maya's phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID and lowered it. It's HR, she said. Again. Don't answer, Haley said. Maya shook her head. I have to. I'll meet you there. Haley arrived with the attorney and sat at the small conference table while he drafted a motion for a new hearing on digital evidence. He placed Curtis's preliminary report on top, clipped with receipts and serial numbers. Tomorrow morning, he said. If the judge grants it, we can put Ethan under oath. Haley's borrowed phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. Can we talk privately? Haley typed 1 sentence and showed it to her lawyer before sending. Since when do you want to talk privately? She wrote. Since the camera deleted itself? The attorney didn't comment. He just kept stapling exhibits. Maya arrived late, face tight from whatever HR had said, and slid a sealed envelope across the table to Haley. Provider confirmation, Maya said, time-stamped. Haley tore it open carefully, pulled out the letterhead page, and started reading as the attorney leaned in and said, If the judge allows it, tomorrow we're putting him under oath. Haley arrived at Maricopa County Superior Court early. Her attorney met her at the security line with a manila folder and a paper wristband from the clerk's office. Maya wasn't beside her today. HR had requested a meeting, which meant Maya could only text from a distance. In the courtroom, Haley took the seat her lawyer pointed to and kept both hands on her knees. Across the aisle, Ethan sat with his sister, suit neat, eyes damp, waiting. When he noticed Haley, he gave the same small nod he'd given at the funeral home, like they were sharing a task list. The judge called the matter and asked for the foundation first. Haley's attorney stood, introduced Curtis as a certified digital forensics examiner, and handed the clerk a packet sealed with chain of custody labels. Curtis testified in plain sentences, identifying the laptop, the external drive, and the provider confirmation letter Maya had delivered the night before. The prosecutor objected anyway. She said screenshots were unreliable, caches could be altered, and searches didn't prove action. The judge listened, then asked Curtis one question: whether the records had been preserved without modification and whether the provider had certified the account logs. Curtis said yes, and he explained how the provider's export matched the local metadata down to the minute. The judge looked down at his notes and nodded once. "The court will admit the digital evidence for this hearing," the judge said. Haley's lawyer didn't smile. He simply turned on a small monitor facing the jury box and the bench. A timeline appeared with dates and times. Curtis pointed, using a laser pointer like he was teaching a class nobody wanted. He started with the searches. Not one frantic query, but a series. Remote lock car. Auto lock settings. Lock vehicle from phone. Spaced over weeks, then clustered around the day their son died. The prosecutor tried to frame it as curiosity. Curtis answered without heat. "People research what they intend to use," he said, "and the system keeps their habits." Next came the garage camera. Curtis pulled up the vendor log showing a reset event and a new memory card registration under Ethan's admin account, stamped after the investigation had begun. The prosecutor asked if anyone else could have done it. Curtis said the admin credentials were used, and the provider confirmed the device was accessed from Ethan's phone. Ethan's lawyer shifted in his chair. Haley kept her eyes on the monitor. She didn't move when Ethan cleared his throat. The judge called Ethan to the stand for limited testimony. Ethan swore in, hands flat, voice steady. Haley's attorney asked who set up the cloud account, the camera, and the vehicle app. "I did," Ethan said, "because I'm organized." The attorney clicked to a message thread recovered through the provider export. It was a group chat Ethan had with two friends, dated the afternoon of the daycare. Ethan's words sat on the screen in plain text. "I already told them she forgot," one line read. "They'll believe that." Another line followed minutes later. "If she starts asking about the locks, say the car auto-locks. Everyone knows that." Ethan's face tightened, then relaxed into that practiced grief. The prosecutor objected on relevance, but the judge overruled. Haley's attorney asked Ethan whether he'd written the messages. "Yes," Ethan said. "I was upset." "And you searched for remote locking functions before that day?" the attorney asked. "I read things online," Ethan replied. "Like everyone." The attorney didn't argue. He pulled up the vehicle app access log the manufacturer had released under subpoena. A list of commands, timestamps, and device IDs. Curtis pointed to one entry at 11:59 a.m., remote lock, issued from Ethan's phone. The courtroom went still in the way a triage bay goes still when a monitor changes tone. Haley's lawyer asked the question softly. "Where were you at 11:59? Ethan said he didn't remember. The prosecutor tried to redirect, but the judge held up a hand. Curtis explained how the device ID matched Ethan's handset, and how the command couldn't have come from Haley's fob. The judge looked at the jury, then back at the screen. Haley sat with her palms on her knees, staring at the timestamp like it was a lab result she couldn't argue with. When the judge recessed for the jury to deliberate, Haley's attorney leaned close and spoke in the same tone he used when giving her instructions at the courthouse door. "Don't look at them," he said. "Look at me." Haley nodded once. Ethan stepped down from the stand and tried to meet her eyes, but a deputy guided him away. The jury came back before Haley's lawyer finished his second cup of courthouse coffee. The four-person's voice was steady. Ethan didn't look at Haley when the word guilty landed. A deputy took him by the elbow, and his sister stood up too fast, like motion could undo a verdict. Haley didn't follow any of them. She followed her lawyer out to the hallway, signed the release paperwork he placed in front of her, and let him talk to the clerk about the next date. He didn't tell her to be strong. He just said what would happen next and wrote the time in the margin. An hour later, Haley drove to a county property office on the edge of town. The building looked like it handled 1,000 small endings every week. A receptionist slid a clipboard toward her without asking if she needed help. Haley filled in her name, case number, and a phone contact that wasn't hers anymore. A man in a polo shirt with a lanyard came through a secured door carrying a cardboard box and a separate plastic-wrapped item. "Haley Carter?" he asked. "Yes," she said. He set the box on the counter. A folded blanket sat on top. Under it were small sneakers, a toy truck with one wheel missing, and a shirt that still smelled like detergent from a life that didn't exist now. The plastic-wrapped item was the car seat. "I need you to sign for the release," the man said. "Do you want to inventory everything?" Haley looked at the list he offered and shook her head. "I work healthcare," she said. "I just need to know what's here and what's gone." He nodded like he'd heard that from nurses before, then pointed to the signature line. Haley signed, printed her name, and accepted the receipt without reading the fine print. She lifted the box with both arms and carried it out to her car, as if it weighed more than cardboard should. In the parking lot, her phone buzzed with an unknown number. She let it go to voicemail. The car seat sat in her back seat for a minute, angled the way it had always been, and then she moved it to the trunk because she couldn't drive with it watching her. Her lawyer texted a reminder about the next hearing. A second text came from Ethan's mother. Not a question, just a request. "Can we meet and talk quietly, like family?" Haley typed one reply and sent it without adding anything else. "Please contact my attorney." She drove to a familiar empty lot behind a closed community center, a place she used to park when she needed to finish charting after a shift. It was late afternoon, and most of the spaces were open. Haley backed into a spot on the far end, shut off the engine, and pulled the car seat out of the trunk. She placed it on the pavement and knelt beside it. The straps were twisted. She straightened them, ran her fingers along the buckle, and pressed until it clicked. The chest clip slid up and down the webbing like it always had. She checked the latch path, the manual label, the expiration sticker. Not because anyone was grading her, but because this was the one object that had been turned into a courtroom detail, and she needed it to be an object again. Her hands moved in a quiet routine, the same way they moved when she checked IV tubing for air. She tightened the straps, loosened them, tightened again. She made sure the buckle didn't stick. She pulled once, hard, and the seat didn't shift. A car passed on the road beyond the lot. Haley didn't look up. She folded the blanket from the box and set it back inside with the toy truck, arranging the items so they didn't rattle. She shut the box flaps, taped them with a roll she kept in the glove compartment, and wrote a single word on top in marker. "Keep." When she stood, her knees cracked. She lifted the car seat, carried it to the trunk, and set it in gently. She closed the trunk and stood there with her hands still on the lid, as if pressure could keep the world from reopening. Her phone buzzed again, this time with her lawyer's name. She answered before the second ring finished. "Haley," he said. "They're moving fast. The court is about to sentence." Haley drove back to the courthouse with her lawyer's directions ringing in her ear. She parked in the same garage where reporters used to wait, only now a deputy waved her through a side door. In the hallway, Ethan's sister sat with her arms crossed, staring at the floor tiles like they were giving her answers. Ethan stood between two deputies, wrists cuffed, suit wrinkled at the elbows. He didn't look up when Haley passed. "Stay with me," her lawyer said. "I am," Haley replied. They took their seats. The judge read the verdict first, then moved straight to sentencing, voice even, eyes on the file. The courtroom clerk listed the counts one by one, each label sounding too clean for what it meant. "Count 1, manslaughter," the judge said. "Count 2, tampering with evidence." Ethan's lawyer asked for mercy. He talked about grief, stress, a marriage falling apart. Ethan nodded at the right times, hands clasped, chin dipped. When the judge asked if Ethan wished to speak, Ethan's voice came out soft. "I never wanted this," he said. "I wanted my son to rest." Haley kept her gaze on the bench. Her lawyer's pen moved, recording every phrase. The prosecutor stood next and didn't raise her voice. She referenced the vehicle command log, the reset records, the chat messages. She asked for a sentence that reflected planning and the attempt to blame someone else. The judge listened, then turned one page. "The court finds aggravating factors," he said. "Mr. Cole used technology to create a false narrative." The judge announced the term, then the conditions. No contact with Haley, no communication through family, no approaching her workplace. A deputy led Ethan away before anyone could argue. Ethan turned his head once toward Haley, but the bailiff's hand guided him forward and the moment ended. Outside, cameras waited in the corridor. A reporter stepped into Haley's path, microphone close. "Do you feel like you won?" she asked. Haley didn't stop walking. "I didn't bring my son home," she said. "Call it whatever you want." The reporter followed 2 steps, still talking, but a guard moved between them and pointed toward the exit. Her lawyer steered Haley into a smaller office to finish the part that never made the news. The prosecutor signed a dismissal. The clerk stamped it. Haley signed a receipt that proved she was no longer the defendant. "This doesn't erase the internet," her lawyer said. "I know," Haley answered. He handed her a copy of the no-contact order and circled the date it began. "If he tries anything," he said, "call police, not family." Haley nodded and folded the paper into her wallet like a new license. When she stepped back into the public hallway, her phone lit up with alerts she hadn't asked for. Local stations had already posted updates. Father convicted. Mother cleared. Some accounts added corrections. Some deleted old clips without apology. A few strangers sent messages that began with, "I'm sorry," and ended before the apology meant anything. Maya called from a restricted number. "They're asking me questions at work," Maya said. "Answer what you have to," Haley said, "then go home." A pause, then Maya's voice softened. "You did it," Maya said. Haley looked at the courthouse ceiling and kept her face steady. "I signed papers," she said. Maya let out a short breath that could have been a laugh. "That's the most nurse way to describe it," she said. Later that afternoon, Haley drove to the hospital administrative building, not the ER entrance. Security checked her name and handed her a visitor badge, as if she were a vendor. A director met her in a small office and spoke carefully. "We're reviewing reinstatement," the director said. "There are procedures." "I know," Haley said. "We'll need a fitness for duty evaluation," the director continued, "and we'll need time." Haley stood, accepted the paper list, and left without asking for sympathy. In the lobby, 2 nurses glanced at her badge and looked away. One older tech she barely knew gave a small nod, then kept walking. On her drive back, her lawyer called again and read the docket entry aloud. "The charge against you is dismissed," he said, "and the record will show it." A station's push alert popped up on a news app. A correction, then another. Haley wrote down the case number on a receipt and kept driving steadily. Back at the courthouse reception desk, Haley signed the final form for returned property. The clerk slid it into a tray and stamped it without looking up. "All set," the clerk said. A security guard held the glass door open. Phoenix sun hit Haley's face hard as she stepped out, and she started down the courthouse steps while people still held up their phones. Haley moved into a 1-bedroom apartment on the north side of Phoenix with a rented dolly and 3 trips. The place was smaller than the house, which meant less to manage and fewer corners for other people to haunt. She signed the lease at the front desk, handed over the cashier's check, and watched the manager staple paperwork without looking up. "Mail key is on the ring," the manager said. "Your unit's on the 2nd floor. No subletting, no extra residents." Haley nodded, took the key ring, and carried the first box upstairs. She set it by the wall, opened a notebook, and wrote, "Utilities, bank, phone, locks." Not goals, tasks. That afternoon, she sat on the floor with her laptop and called the electric company. The representative sounded bored until Haley said she needed a new account, not a transfer. "Do you have a previous address?" the woman asked. "Yes," Haley said. "I'm not using it anymore." She read off the new unit number, set up autopay from a checking account that only had her name on it, and changed the password before she closed the browser. Then she did the same with her cell plan, her car insurance, and the cloud account she'd rebuilt under a fresh login the attorney had helped her create. Every time a site offered family sharing, she clicked no. She wasn't angry. She was finished. Maya stopped by after her shift with 2 folding chairs and a bag of takeout. She didn't ask how Haley felt. She asked what was missing. "Smoke detectors work?" Maya said. "Yeah," Haley replied. "Locks?" "Changed." Maya set the chairs up anyway. They ate at the counter, and Haley wrote down the date of her fitness for duty appointment at the hospital. When Maya left, she texted only one line: "Proud of the paperwork queen." 2 weeks later, Haley sat in a back room of a community center with a dozen people and a stack of printed checklists. The group leader, a retired firefighter, didn't introduce her with a story. He introduced her with a task. "Haley made these," he said. "They're practical. Put them on your fridge, your dash, whatever." Haley slid the papers down the table. The checklist wasn't inspirational. It said, "Place a shoe in the back seat. Set a second alarm. Never assume. Confirm the latch. Look back before you lock." A young mom with a stroller read it twice and swallowed. "Is this from the county?" the mom asked. "No," Haley said. "It's from me." After the meeting, she didn't stay to network. She helped fold chairs and wiped down a table with disinfectant wipes from her purse, the kind the hospital gave out by the case. The firefighter watched her work and nodded like he understood the language of hands. Outside in the parking lot, a dad approached with his keys dangling. "I saw your name online," he said, cautious. "I'm sorry, I believed the first thing I heard." Haley didn't correct him with a speech. She handed him a checklist and pointed at the last line. "Check the back seat," she said. "Every time." He looked down at the paper, then back up, and stepped away without asking for forgiveness. On a Tuesday morning, hospital administration called with a scheduling question. Haley answered on the second ring, standing by her sink. "Ms. Carter, can you come in Thursday for the evaluation?" the coordinator asked. "Yes," Haley said. "Bring any documentation from your attorney." "I will." She hung up, washed 1 cup, dried it, and put it in the cabinet. The motions were small, but they were hers. That afternoon, she drove past Sun Valley Daycare without planning to. Traffic pushed her into the familiar turn lane, and she took it because fighting the wheel felt worse. She didn't pull into the drop-off line. She parked across the street in an empty row at a closed business and sat for 10 seconds with both hands on the steering wheel. Then she got out, walked to the rear passenger door, and opened it. The back seat was empty. She looked anyway, the same way she checked an IV line that had already been flushed. She closed the door, locked the car, unlocked it, and checked again. It took less than a minute, and it changed something she couldn't name. Back in the driver's seat, her phone buzzed with a local news alert. Another correction, another repost. She swiped it away and spoke aloud, just enough for herself to hear. "Cloud keeps the wrong stuff," she said. "I have to learn to keep the right stuff." She started the engine, turned the air conditioning on, and pulled out of the lot, her grip steady as she aimed the car toward home without looking back.